here, so we can start. So as I have already mentioned, and you can see on your screens, the event that you are attending now is about WLLC major, and during the event you are going to listen to some introductions, some insights, and some maybe tips about this major. And our first speaker is going to be professor, so we're going to know a little bit about the path towards this field of study. We're going to know a little bit about professorship and also about Angame Journal. The second speaker is the new Writers Club, and the representative of this club is going to tell you about the activities of the club and how this club is working in general. And the last speaker is going to be a senior student of this major, Dameliya. After that, you can join the discussion, and I think that our speakers will be more than welcome to answer all of your questions. I have already noticed that one of you have already asked questions, so hopefully that one of the speakers is going to touch upon that point as well. So at this point, let me stop sharing my screen, and I think that we can invite to the floor our first speaker, our very respected professor. So okay, yeah, you can unmute. Yes, excellent. Hi. So you can start with some introduction if some of the students do not know you, and then you can proceed.
So my name is Mariya Deykute. I'm actually an instructor from the Writing Center, but I do teach some classes that are cross-listed with a WLL. This is in particular for the creative writing classes. So I am a creative writing professor. I teach Introduction to Fiction and the poetry seminar, as well as run, I'm the chief editor of the literary journal Angame, which is in its second year. I also run and coordinate the Open Literary School seminars at NU, which are basically workshops, extracurricular workshops for creative writing and creative writers. So anything creative writing related, you can definitely shoot me an email. I am currently on leave, so I apologize in advance if I have to step away. I had my second child in July, so he may ask for my immediate assistance. But until then, I'm more than happy to be here and to answer any of your questions. I also talk quite a bit to any capstone students, any fourth years that are interested in creative writing and doing creative writing for their thesis, which is an option in WLL, and I hope that all of you creatives consider it. There is a rather big analytical component to it as well, but I'm happy to talk about how creative writing in particular exists in the academic field and how it can be coupled with research and can be considered as research and so on and so forth. My own path to teaching here at NU was fairly straightforward in the sense that I got my MFA, which is a terminal degree in creative writing from the University of Massachusetts, Boston, which is where I started teaching. And that is one of the common ways for creative writers to earn a living. You either teach or you edit. And I happen to do both, and I happen to like both. So that's a pretty straightforward career path. So if you are curious about sort of the future, right, if you do have a humanities degree, or if you have a literature degree or a creative writing degree, I can talk a little bit about those different pathways. I saw a question in the chat about Angame Journal, and yes, students can join. So I'll briefly talk about what the journal is. The website is angame.com, so you can go and take a look. We just had a pretty great issue published. We publish poetry, fiction, nonfiction, and art in 3 languages, in Russian, English, and Kazakh. And we try to translate most of the things we publish into the 3 languages. So this is kind of what makes us unique. I don't think there's another journal out there. And we do have students very actively involved with the journal. Right now we have 19 student editors, and they work on different capacities. So some are directly attached to sections. So we have a student editor, for example, for the visual arts section. We have a couple of student editors working with Professor Dupuy in English fiction. We have students working very closely with translation. Particularly, we're looking for students interested in translating to and from Kazakh, because that seems to be very, very important, but a pretty limited skill set. So we do have students who are doing that. We also have students who run interviews and who basically create content, since we interview quite a lot of writers, and we interview the artists that we feature as well. So all of those are possibilities. So if you're interested in getting involved, right now is actually a great time, because we are actively looking for some students to join our team. And I'll be happy to talk kind of individually if you email me about what would fit best in that sense. So I think that's enough for me talking at you. Now, if you have questions, please do let me know.
Okay, thank you very much for your excellent insight about your professorship, your field of study, as well as Angame Journal. I think that some of the students found it interesting and hopeful they can join your project, yes, and have their own contribution. Here, one student is asking, yes, I think we can quickly address this question. Can foundation students join Angame Journal?
Absolutely. The earlier, the better. That way we have you for 5 years, not 4.
Okay, excellent. So I think that was pretty straightforward answer. Thank you very much for that. And now I want to invite our next speaker to the floor to unmute herself. This is a representative of New Writers Club. So it's Ayjan.
Yeah, sorry, yes, can you hear me?
Good. Yes, we can.
I'm turning on my camera.
Yeah, but we cannot see on. Oh, okay, it's working now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my computer is a little bit slow today for Zoom. So you can hear and see me well, right? Yeah, good. So hello everyone. My name is Ayjan. I'm a 4th year student majoring in WLL, and this summer I founded a New Writers Club and the Walls of Our University, because I'm really found at creative writing. As the previous speaker, Mariya Deykute, she was my professor actually, and that's how I was inspired to get to my creative writing path. So let me talk about our club briefly. Can you please allow me to share my screen? I have a presentation.
So you cannot share because you are co-organizer.
No, I started to share. Can you see it?
It's loading. Okay, we can see it now.
Okay, you can see it. I cannot see it. It's a little bit frozen. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. It's this Zoom era doesn't fit me. Okay, so I can just start talking, okay, and then when my computer will allow me, I will just move the slides. So basically, a New Writers Club is a new club. As I said, I founded it only in the beginning of this summer, but I and my team that I gathered from the students of our university, we decided to start the job as soon as possible. And we had a bunch of creative ideas as to what we should conduct and how, and we've gathered some of the events, and projects that we are running even now. So what do we do? We have several events and projects that are happening on a regular basis. One of them is free write session, which is our regular event happening every Thursday at 7 p.m. through Zoom or Google Meet. So what do we do during free write sessions? We practice the free write technique, and I basically could talk about it to you in more detail if my presentation would allow it to do, but I'm sorry. So we just gather together, and we do some writing exercises during this session, and then we have some time, like say 25 and 30 minutes just writing. So free write session is aiming to let everyone just write without any limitations, like no grammar issues, no structure issues, like just letting your mind go and write whatever you wish and in whatever direction you are following right now in this minute. So this is our free write session, our regular and personally my favorite event, because I'm running it myself, me and another girl, Camila. So next event is book discussions, which we're having next week, actually next Sunday. What do we do during this event? We pick a book. It could be a famous book, like this time we've chosen 1984 by George Orwell. And we just have 2 or 3 weeks predating the event itself, during which we post memorable quotes, insights to the books, and some writing styles, analysis of the author, and some tips from this author. And then we just have a meeting, online meeting, during which we discuss and share our views about this book. So so in order to be good writer, you need to be a good reader, right? That's the purpose of this event, to practice the skill of reading. Next event is our game night. We also have game nights. We call it playwright, during which we gather. It's an informal meeting during which we play and have some activities like let's continue the story. One says sentence and another person catches it and continues with another sentence, and so on and so on. So just like how the writers would play. Yeah, that's the purpose of this event. Next, we also have peer review sessions. Yeah. But we had it only one during our summer period. So I hope everyone understands what's peer review session, especially those who have taken creative writing class. Oh, no, it just came to my mind that maybe not. So during peer review sessions, we gather together in groups, like 3 or 4 people. And if we have some creative writing stuff, like a prose or short story or poems, we just send it. And then we read each other's works. Then we gather and discuss it. Like it's a chance for your story to be heard and discovered by others, and also a chance to get some feedback for your story by your peers. Yeah, that's why it's called peer review session. Also, we have a different writing and journaling challenge that we organized again this summer. We've had 7-day writing challenge, during which we posted 2 prompts for each day, and our followers in Instagram could read and write in response to this prompt. Like, for example, there was one prompt. What if someday someone would call you and says that he's from the future And this person on from the phone says that you should not hang up your phone, like in no case, and just that's it, that's the prompt, and you need to expand the story, like answering to this prompt, what could happen, why, just like to unleash your creative power, so to say, this event. And that's basically it. We also we're planning, we had a plan about inviting some writers, yeah, who had a real experience in publishing and writing serious creative writing works, and have some gathering with them, like talks with the writers. But we still are in the process of creating this event. But we hope that one day we will be able to do it. But for now, just this. We have Telegram channel, and we have our Instagram page. You can subscribe and see our job that is done so far. In Instagram and in the VK page, we also have the series of posts that we publish every week, every Sunday, about different creative writing techniques or creative writing tips, like the issues that can bother you as you write, as you are trying to write. Like, for example, we had an article about how to find your voice in writing, or how to name your story. So we do it every week, and you can find these articles in our wake-up page in full format, in full version. So that basically is. I actually wanted to try a free write session right now with you, but I'm sorry, my computer really doesn't allow me to do it. I just cannot see my presentation right now. But I hope that you were interested in it, and I invite you to our Thursday sessions every week. Okay, so if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for such an insight about a club, which is comparatively new, but despite the fact that it's new, you are doing a lot of things that might be interesting for students who want to develop their writing skills, or maybe who are already good at writing. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I think we can see something from your screen. Yeah. Can you somehow stop sharing your screen? Okay. Yes, thank you very much. Hopefully our students have some questions that we can discuss after the last speaker. So you can write down your questions in the chat, or at the very end, you can unmute yourself and ask questions to our speakers. So now, the last but not least, our senior WLL student, Dameliya. Welcome to the session. So yes, you can start your introduction and tell our students a little bit more about your path, yes, through this major, the courses that you have taken, maybe some kind of tips to our freshman students. So you are welcome to start.
Thank you, Teodoro. Hi, as she said, my name is Dameliya. I am Ajan's fellow fourth year WLLC student. I'm sorry, I am a little bit sick today, so I sound very nasally, and I put this filter so I look a bit alive. So I will also try to share my screen because I have a small presentation. I hope it works. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, it's very much my style, very cutesy. I hope it doesn't disturb too much. So today I wanted to present to you my small experience with the major. I'll try not to take too much time, hopefully. So the first question that I get asked mostly about my major is how and why I chose it. So the first and one of the most important reasons is the fact that I love the bond with the professors. So for instance, here in this picture, the second one, which is like This is a picture of us during Chinese lessons. I think it was around this time when we made mooncakes, and we went down to the professor's block, and like our professor even went to her apartment, and we kind of followed her there, and we made these cool mooncakes, and it was really, really nice, and we got to bond a lot, not only with the professor but also as a group. You can see Ajahn here. I'm sorry if this is not the best picture. I just took the first one that I saw from the class. So we had a lot of fun. And then this picture is me having fun reading the readings. This is what my friend took. So the second reason is that you can freely choose what to focus on. So our major consists of 3 parts. Like our major suggests world languages, literature and culture, but in reality, it's more like languages, literature and linguistics. And one kind of small tip that I would give to you is that when choosing the major, if you really want to focus on language acquisition, don't get your hopes up too much, because to be honest, the focus goes mostly towards literature and language. So when you finish your requirements, for instance, for the introductory requirement and for the advanced requirement, you have to take either linguistics or a literature course. But for intermediate requirement, you can take a language course. So I can't say that you are like 100% free to choose, but still, like unlike other majors, for instance, like engineering, you have like a specific set of classes that you have to take, and it says the code there and what you have to take for a certain semester. But in WLLC, you can choose any course, just the most important part that covers the level. For instance, we have like 2 intermediate courses, and for that you can choose either a 200 level language course, either a 200 level linguistics course, or a literature course. So you can really make your degree like personal and like really focus on something that you want, not something that is imposed on you. And as I've already mentioned, those 3 fields, another advantage is that you're a specialist in 3 fields simultaneously. I've noticed that, for instance, in some of the US universities, there's a special major for languages, and there's a special major for linguistics, and there's a special major for like language acquisition. But the beauty of our major here is that when you graduate, you are a specialist all of those 3 things. And it is really cool because for instance, like the problem with the linguistics is that when you read papers, maybe some of you who have taken intro to linguistics, you'll see that the papers are written in the most complicated way possible. And the idea would be like very, really, really simple, like people speak languages, but it would be written in a really, really weird way. And for instance, us as people who also study literature and have learned to express our ideas in a clear and kind of literary way, we can, for example, rephrase those papers. So being a specialist in these 2 fields helps. And again, for instance, for linguistics, knowing many languages also helps. Like you can learn the structure of various languages. And of course, in literature also, you can bring in the knowledge of certain concepts from other cultures to illustrate your point. So that's really cool. And then finally, one of my most favorite things is that fellow students are incredibly creative and welcoming. It's also really cool how, like, when I discuss our friends with my friends from other majors, they say like, oh, it's so competitive and nobody wants to help you, and like there's so many people, I don't know who to talk to. But in WLLC, what's really cool is that usually the classes are not that big. For instance, like it's not like in like economics where you have really, really big lectures. In WLLC, it's usually smaller, and that way we get to bond a lot. And also fellow students, like they're so creative. I get so, like, you see Ajahn here who writes her own story, like is such a cool creative, and like created a club. I have like other fellow students who are like, I don't know, directing music videos and like making paintings and selling paintings. And it's so cool to know people like that, and it really inspires you to also not only be like locked into the study sphere, but also explore other like creative aspects that other students are also studying. Okay, I hope that convinced you a little bit maybe. And next, I'm going to talk about another question that I always get asked is like, if I will choose this major, wouldn't I be homeless or wouldn't I be jobless? And the answer is no. If you study hard, no. There's actually a lot of possible career opportunities for this major because it's very open. Like the skills that you learn there can be applied to any sphere, but specifically like one of the possible careers that a lot of persons go to. I actually got this little list from one of our professors, Professor Lehtinen. She also did a presentation on the major, so I'm making like an oral citation, so it's not plagiarism. Don't plagiarize, you guys. So one of the careers could be like journalism. For instance, I have a friend in third year, maybe you know her, Aruzhan Klasova. She's like a fledged journalist in Gaku channel, and it's like she's amazing. I'm amazed by her every day when I see like she is making like full on like storyboards and like reportage, and it's really cool. Also, you can go into film and cinema. I also know people who either plan to go into this field or who are in this field, so they do like screenwriting for various TV programs, or like they make their own like films, which is really cool. And of course, media. So as I said, like journalism and film also goes in here, but also like social media management and like working with social media. Then tourism, because you know a lot of languages and you can communicate a lot, so you can go into that field. Translation, of course. This is one of the, I guess, kind of cliche things that I usually get, like people, when I tell them, oh, I study languages, literature, and culture, people are like, oh, so you're a translator. And I'm like, not really, like it's a cool field, but I don't really want to go into it. But yes, that's also an opportunity. And then, as I mentioned, art and culture, you can also go into like either art analysis, or you can, if you are into like creating yourself, you can also do that. Then of course, one of the things that our university prepares us the most to is research and academia, meaning like further study, master's degree, PhD. You can of course pursue that and become like a professor or a cool specialist. And of course, so much more. There's so many skills that you get that you can apply to other fields. And that brings me to the skills that you will learn. So of course, it's analytical skills, and I've included a little meme like author writes a book with no hidden meaning, and literature teachers like analysis. So you will analyze a lot. Then of course, communication skills, because a lot of the classes involve you talking and presenting, so you will learn communication skills, and also like some of cool group works. Then writing skills, of course, in like literature and a lot of other subjects. And one of the coolest things I think that we get to learn is creativity, because for instance, for a lot of literature classes, we get some cool like creative works too, like not only creative writing, but for instance, for this, I took this course from page to screen, where we read books and watched movies and compared them. Yes, we do that actually in classes, and that's so cool. And our final project was to film our own adaptation, which we were so excited to do. And for instance, and another thing is like, I remember taking Intro to Literary Studies, where one of our assignments was to actually perform a play. So we're reading a play, and then one day we were like, oh yes, you, and we were like trying to be like such cool actors, but it was a little bit cringy, like at least from my part, because I'm not that good of an actor, and I was trying to be like so cool. Okay. And then other two skill sets, these are just like, they're kind of jokes but kind of not, that you will be able to write a lot of things in like very short times. Like you can maybe be able to write paper in 2 hours, fast, and like be like, yeah, I did it. And then other people are like, what, how can you write so fast? And then engage in a conversation about a book you did not read. Also, I don't encourage this, but I've practiced it. You will be able to BS your way through classes if you practice hard enough. So yes. And next, I like to give a bit of maybe like general advice for you guys at this stage for choosing your major. So fun fact, I also was a peer advisor, so I tried to base my presentation around the questions that I got while I was one. So if you have more questions, you can of course ask. But one of the most frequent questions again I was asked is that, oh my God, I'm not sure about my choice, and if I won't choose it, I'll be kicked out of the university, or my parents will kill me, or professors won't like me anymore. No, don't panic too much about it, because there is a possibility to change a major even in like your second year. There are people who do that. Actually, like the people who study with me now, there's a lot of guys, even from like, I have a friend who came from mechanical engineering in his, I think, second year, I think he transferred to our major. And I have another friend from computer science who transferred in his third year. And I also have a friend from political science who also transferred in her at the beginning of third year, I think. So it is possible. It will, of course, be a bit harder than for those of you guys who choose the major at the end of your first year, but it is still possible. So don't worry too much about like, oh, I didn't make the right choice and everything is over. No, you can still change, but it will just involve a little more study. Like you would have to take more major courses in a short span of time, and you might need to take summer terms, but still there's a possibility. Also, another advice is that do not be afraid to talk to professors or students. As I've said previously, the WLLC professors are really, really kind. Same goes with the students, so they will be like more than happy to help you. Fun fact, I think we still have a bit of time, right? Like I can tell a little story. So I've met my literature professor. I actually took Professor Lehtinen that I mentioned. I took a course with her, I think a year ago, but still, like I went to a gym next to my house and she also went there, and she like, when she saw me, like she recognized me and she was so excited and she was like, can I please hug you? And I was like, what? Okay, thanks. Yes, of course. And it was so cute. And also another time I also went, we met with our department chair, Professor Filchenko. You probably know him, or you should know him. He's the department chair, and it was also so cool. Like he invited us to a cafe. Not he. I think we invited him. But anyways, we went in, and he was like, "Okay, guys, I'm gonna pay for you because I'm the professor." And it was so cute and so lovely. And we didn't talk about class that much. We talked about like linguistics questions in general, and it was really cool. So you see, like making a bond with professor is really not that hard. Oh, and also some professors even brought like gifts for us from like, and it was also really cute, and like candies. So bonding with professors is really not that hard, and you shouldn't be afraid to talk to them. Like even if it's not something like super academic, there are times like professors are people. Remember that. Like even if you have like some personal issues, it's okay to come up to professor and bring it up, because the professor will get to you more like as a person. And it's also really nice because of course, firstly, it will help you in your coursework, and secondly, building a strong bond with a professor will also help you if you pursue a future study. For instance, they can help you get into the university that they've taught in previously. Like some professors told me that they could help with that, like help with graduation applications, and of course motivation letters. The better professor knows you personally as a person, not just like your academic side, but in general, like who you are, is also quite useful. And third point is explore and learn what you like. As I've said, the beauty of WLLC major is that you're choose what kind of classes you want. There's no requirements like you have to take this class and afterwards this class. Like it's not like you have to take literary studies and then World Lit 1 and then World Lit 2 and then you take this and that. You can really just take what you like. So don't be afraid to like explore. Don't think like, oh, this course is probably so hard, no, I won't take it. Like it's better to explore and learn what you like, and then at the end you will be when you know what you like, you can be a specialist in the subfield that you're in. Because this is one of the drawbacks of the WLLC field, is that it is so vast and you can learn so many things. Like you can learn culture, translation, literatures, different kinds of literatures, different kinds of linguistics. And then when you go, for example, to graduate school, I'm at this point, I don't know what I like because I like so many things. So that could also be a little bit of a problem. So it's better to start early and understand what you prefer and what you like. And finally, it's learn to learn. So this is actually an advice that I heard from Professor James Nikopoulos. He teaches intro to literary studies, and also he teaches a lot of literature courses. And he said this to me, like, you're in university not to like become the best writer, but it's to learn, meaning that knowing what helps you learn, knowing what methods work for you. This is what you came in to study at university. So it might not matter what kind of specific field you go into, but the most important thing is that you understand what you like, what you know, and you can, you know how to actively grasp information, like note-taking skills, skills in reading, like skimming, or like knowing the most important things. Yes. I think there was some other thing that I wanted to say, but I forgot. Maybe somebody will ask a question about it and I'll remember. Okay, so thank you very much. I think that's it. Hopefully I didn't take too much time. So if you have any questions, please ask. I'll be happy to answer. I didn't actually talk about classes that much, as Dilarom said, but hopefully maybe you'll ask questions about it and I can tell you if you need to, if you want to know what kind of class there are. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much for such a detailed presentation that included lots of things that freshman students are usually confused about. That is why thank you very much. And at this point, I think that we can move on to the Q&A session, where we can answer some of the questions from the chat. And some of you can raise your hands and unmute yourself to ask the questions. So we have our first person, yes, who wants to ask a question. You can unmute yourself and address your question to one of our speakers.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm really glad that this meeting is really ongoing, and this question is actually addressed to all presentators. Actually, I'd like to ask, what was your starting point of your journey into this major? Like, what was the reason you chose this major, be it particular course, be it a particular professor, or career opportunities, research opportunities, and so on? Like, what drew your attention?
Okay, so who wants to answer this question?
Okay, maybe I can, since I was speaking so much. I'm kind of used to it. So for me, when I I am, like, a little bit about myself. So I am a directly applied student, so I didn't have like foundation to think about it. I just came straight from school. But even as I just applied, I already, like, remember in my application form I put that I want to be a WLLC major. And for me, it was because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Like, fun fact, I was 16 when I came into my first year, and I was like a child who doesn't know anything about life and anything. So I was like, I don't know what to do. My parents are like, choose this major, it looks very broad and you'll learn things there. So I chose it. And when I started taking courses, like these intro courses, I realized that I really want to study something creative. Like, I realized that I'm really bad at things like science and maths, where you're like given one thing and you're like, okay, solve this equation. I really respect people who like and can do that. Like, that's so cool. But I just realized that it's not for me. I am not really that kind of a person. I really need that freedom to, like, say what I want and write what I want. So that's why I chose this major. And I decided at first to go into the literature field because I thought that was more creative. So I took like literary studies, and then immediately I took like a 200 level literature course, like from page to screen. And at first I realized I wanted to just take courses that are creative, like from page to screen. I took then post-colonial film. That was also kind of a little bit of a creative class. But then what I learned is that I learned that I'm not as creative as I thought I was. Like, I liked it, but of course I wanted to do something new. So I also same time I also took linguistics courses, so they're like track like that. So I took literature one semester, one linguistics next semester, then literature, then linguistics, and also I took languages, because actually when I came in, my first goal was to learn more languages, but then I was disappointed when I learned that I can't cover all of my electives with languages. So I prepare you for that, don't be disappointed. And then I took linguistics and language and literature, and then I realized that I also really like linguistics. Like I also like this kind of it's not strict, but it's like this how do you say, like concretica. Like there is some certain definitions that there's certain methodologies, and also like that there's a certain guideline for you to follow. So yeah, right now I'm doing my Cal in linguistics, but it's honestly because it's more practical, like because I have more experience in linguistics now, because I also became an RA for a linguistics project along with Ayjan. So now I decided to do a linguistics capstone, but this is kind of, I hope that answers your question. This is how I got here. So I went in like this. So it doesn't have to be a straight way, just take various things and figure it out.
Yeah, thank you very much for your answer. Hopefully the answer was satisfactory for your Kevlan. And yes, if Ayjan or our professor, Mariya Deykute, if you want to address this question as well, you can unmute yourselves.
Sure. My answer will be a bit strange because I was not actually a linguistics or languages major as an undergrad. I was an archaeologist before I went for a master's degree in writing. So as you can see, the paths can be varied. However, one of the things that I think would be applicable no matter if you work with linguistics, literature, or writing for the major, and this is one of the things that I like doing as a graduate student as well, is the fact that working with language and working with words actually will benefit no matter what you end up doing. If you end up switching in your master's, if you end up going into a different field, because it structures the way you think. And ultimately, I think undergraduate education has to teach you how to think and how to put what you think into words and how to essentially bring across the ideas, not just in a very superficial way, which is unfortunately the way that we usually think, but in a more cohesive way that connects ideas, thoughts, and your own personality. So I think that in this sense, that's one of the reasons why I didn't end up going for a master's in archaeology, but ended up going for a master's in writing, was because I wanted to learn more about the world and myself through language. And this is one way to do it for sure.
Okay, thank you very much. So the takeaway, yes, from these answers, we can say that it is okay if your interests are changing, yes, throughout the past, and it should not worry you too much. So just explore, yes, all the opportunities. And as Dameliya mentioned in her presentation, WLLC major gives everything that you need, right? It has literature, it has language, it has the linguistics. So you can explore, try, and choose what you love. And right here in the chat, one of the questions was very major specific, and I hope that Dameliya or Ayjan can address this question. So one of the attendants asked, can we completely avoid literature if we plan to study only linguistics?
Ayjan, do you want to answer?
I just want to ask who's gonna share this answer. I think the answer is yes. And yes, if you want to study only linguistics, there are plenty of courses that can satisfy your interest, and it's not a requirement to do literature at the same time, because anyway, when you come to a fourth year, you will have to choose, like specifically, either you do linguistics or you do literature. Yeah, so it's not. But you can, you can, because you have a priority anyway for literature courses as a WLL student.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. And another question is also very major specific. So is learning a new language a part of the major? If yes, are we free to choose which one to learn?
Should I?
Finish.
Yes, I think you can answer.
So for me, I guess what I'll say is that it is definitely a part of the major. You are given a priority to language courses almost always, like at least second and third year, you're always given the first priority for language courses. And yes, you are free to choose whichever you want. It will just depend on like how it will fit in time schedule. But when it comes to like what you want, you have the freedom to choose. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And
wanted to add, be careful that you cannot take two languages at the same time if there are one or one, like the beginner courses you cannot take. Sorry. Yeah, I was also disappointed by this fact.
Okay, so language lovers, be aware of this restriction, yes, that you cannot take two languages at the beginning level at the same time. Yes, and one more, I think, quite complicated question for a senior student. I totally understand that. Question to both Dameliya and Ayjan. Are you planning to grad schools? What kind of masters are you aiming at?
It's a good question, and it's a hard question. I actually cannot answer it right now if I will go to the grad school right after my graduation, because I actually wanted to have 1 year of thinking, yeah, because I was planning to work on my creative stuff for 1 year, and maybe then I will go to MFA, like master degree in arts, specifically for creative writing.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, hopefully you answered. And right here, I wanted to pause for a second and say that unfortunately, the Professor Mariya Deykute needed to leave our session. That's why the stars are Dameliya and Ayjan now. So yes, try to address the questions of our students as much as you can. Okay, so before Camila's question, I think Dameliya can answer the question about grad school.
Okay, so it's also kind of like similar to Ayjan. It's also a question that's like kind of hard to answer, but right now, like right now, I kind of want to go to grad school, but to be honest, like as I've said in my presentation, because I like so many things, I haven't decided on which field specifically I want to go into. For instance, our professors suggest me to go to linguistics because I have more experience in it, but I kind of don't want to. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like grad school in linguistics would be too much. Like, it would be a lot. Like, I'll have to like actually do like a lot of academic research, and I am more of a practical skills kind of person. Like I wasn't planning to go into academia, so right now I'm still thinking about it. Actually, fun fact is that my professor, who was my advisor, Professor Dubuisson, she was like, do you want to go to maybe PhD? I can help you with that. I was like, what, PhD? I'm not sure about that school. How am I supposed to go to PhD? Like, no. So I don't know yet, but what I want is that I'm thinking right now of maybe trying abroad and something similar field, but I thought maybe to do something practical, but I'm in the process. I know it's kind of late to be in the process, like people are already doing IELTS and applying, but I'm still in the process of thinking. I think of maybe also taking a gap year and like learning what I like and maybe take like jobs and see what specifically I want to do, but I'm thinking about it because, for instance, my parents, they tell me, you have time, you're young, please, like, not please, but they're like, we suggest you do masters because later you like get married and like have kids and you won't have time for grad school. So yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. And being a senior student myself, I just wanted to add a little bit of my vision on a graduate school and master's program. I think that you should not be pressured as, I don't know, sophomore or freshman students to go to the grad school just because other people around you go to grad school. You, I think, have to understand, like, do you really need that? Or maybe you want to have some job experience. Maybe you will find an internship and you are so engaged in that internship, maybe you can develop your career in that place where you got your internship. That is why I think that it takes lots of thinking, and please don't look around and think that, wow, this society is pressuring me to go to the master's degree. No, because I think that master's degree is something like serious. Yes, it is something that makes you closer to the field that you are in. It makes you a little bit of an expert in that field. So I think that if you're spending your energy and your time and money, by the way, to go to the grad school, I think that it should be like a really, really justified and really well thought decision. Yeah, so that was just my view on that. And now I think we can let Camila ask her question.
Excuse me, I'm very sorry if this question was uncomfortable to answer. Why I ask this question is because I've heard that people start preparing for grad schools very early, like taking different tests already on their third year. So I thought it could be possible to gain some insights about when should we start to think about the specific direction we want to take, or prepare a portfolio that we would be able to show that we are interested in a particular field.
Okay, thank you very much for clarification. And Amanda let us know that it wasn't an uncomfortable question. And I also think that for students who are like in their first or second years, it is a really bothering question. And I myself was also asking some senior students to tell me something about that preparation step. And yes, I think this is a really, really important question if you are thinking about your future. Great, thank you very much. And now I just wanted to ask Ayjan a question about creative writing, about creativity. Can you give some tips how a person can improve his or her like creativity, creative writing skills, and like how the person can find oneself in this writing? I mean, that there are lots of styles, if I'm not mistaken, right? So how can a person find one style?
Actually, I think the most appropriate answer to this question, by the way, thank you for this question. It's really interesting one, and it's really hard, but the most easiest answer to this is just try. Like, just try yourself. Like I said, if you want, you can try free write section, free write technique, yes, about which I told during my presentation, because it does not limit you and does not push you like in the assignments or like the thought that, oh my God, everyone is going to read my story and it's probably a bullshit, because it's not, it's maybe not, and free write allows you to be free in this sense. So this would be my advice. Just try and just let yourself find your voice, because it's important that when you write, you feel that it is you who write, it is your characters, and you know how they speak and why they speak. And when you just produce something with your hands and you feel like proud, even that you have this thought like, oh my God, what have I done? You're proud of yourself, because it is your voice that you have found and you have developed it and you have trained, and you just allow yourself to speak through the words and just get passionate about it. I think that's important.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that this answer inspired some of the beginner writers. And now I think we missed one of the questions addressed to Dameliya. I think you've mentioned something about your capstone. So if you feel comfortable sharing about that, so could you touch upon that topic a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So, one of the things that changed this year for capstones is that previously capstone was how do you say it? I forgot the word. Mandatory. It was mandatory for all fourth year students, but now, like starting from our cohort, you're able to choose whether you want to do like just 2 400 level courses additional to the advanced electives that you have, or you can do a capstone. And for the capstone, the advantages is that, for instance, for grad school, when you do a capstone in something that you're interested in, through a capstone, you can really show that you have become, like you have passion, like you're passionate about that field, which you chose your capstone to be. You're kind of an expert in at least the topic that you've chosen, and if you want to like broaden the topic more and go into that in graduate school, that's also quite an advantage. And also capstone helps to showcase your independence as a student, because you do such a huge work by yourself. I mean, yes, you get support from your advisors and from your and from other professors, but still the work comes from you. You are the one who writes all of that down and like does the research and data collecting and everything. For me, like when we were told this, I remember I was kind of angry because I always thought that I would just have to choose a capstone, so I didn't really think about it. I was like, well, I'll have to. But then when we were told that it's that we can have the ability to choose, I was like, why did you give me the choice? Like, I don't want to choose. I don't want to think about it, whether I want it or not. But then I had to think about whether I wanted or not, and I thought like, but because as I said, I didn't really, and now kind of I don't really know what I want and what I like. So and like what I'm expert in. So I was like, which way do I go? But then, to be honest, I chose the capstone out of a practical choice, because, for instance, like I was able to take the first capstone part, the 498 this semester, and then if I don't like it, I still have the choice to next semester just take 2 advanced courses and just the capstone altogether. That's also a valid possibility. But if I take a capstone, then if something didn't work out with the 400 level courses, like if I didn't have like a prerequisite or something, that would have been kind of a problem. So that's why I decided to just choose like the safest route. Another thing about a capstone, what else? I guess that's it. Yeah. If you have more questions about capstone that I didn't touch upon, then you can answer. And yeah, I mean, not answer, you can ask questions. And maybe Ayjan, she's also taking capstone, so maybe she can add something, because we're doing it in different fields. So yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I share the pain of Dameliya when I learned that there is a choice, and I like, what? I don't want to choose. And yeah, I also chose to do a capstone. It was also because of the practical reasons, but my reasons is because I have I have a project. Yes, as Dameliya said, she's in linguistics track, and I'm in a creative writing track, because yes, as a WLL student in your 4th year, you can choose to do a creative writing project. Like, for example, I chose to write several chapters of my future novel as my capstone project. And that's why basically I chose to do a capstone, because I needed some push to write this novel, like make it well polished, and checked work. That's why I decided to do my capstone. But I should warn you, it's not just like you come to 4th year and you say, I will write a novel or I'll write a short story. And no, it's not so easy as I thought, because in addition to your writing, to your work that you produce, you also need to do a critical essay about the things that influenced you, that impacted you, and how your project is being placed in a current world and stuff like that. So yeah, be prepared. And if you want to do it, maybe in in your fourth year, you can start maybe tracking. Not like, I'm not suggesting you like do your capstone right now, but just track your inner progress of what do you want to do and why you want to do it. Maybe there is some books, some writers, maybe some experiments, because my own novel, it started from a psychological experience that I once watched. Yeah, I took some social psychology course, and there was an experiment that really fascinated me, and I just started to think about it, and it came up to an idea, and I wanted to write about it, this idea, and now I'm trying to figure it out how to make a proper creative writing work out of it. So yeah, but it was hard for me to find this experiment because it was like 2 years ago, and I had to go through all the stuff that I had at my computer to find this particular article. It was not an easy task, and it was like, oh my God, I don't want to do it, but I had to do it because my advisor asked for it. So yeah, I think I'm starting to talk too much. Did I answer the questions, or maybe there's more questions out of this? I can add that in addition to linguistics and creative writing project, you can also do literary analysis as your capstone project, and also you can do translation. Yeah, but you need to be prepared for this. Like for translation, especially, you need to take several courses, because I didn't have a chance to take any translation courses, and I'm already a senior. And maybe in the spring, I'll take a chance to do it.
Okay, thank you very much for your answers. I think it helped our students a little bit. So I can see that there are no questions in the chat, and there are no hands that are up. That's why I think that we can finish with the final question from me. So questions to you, Dameliya and Ayjan. Your top 3 classes that you really enjoyed. Yeah, you can give a short answer, so maybe you can explain why do you like this course, so it's up to you.
Wow, that's a tough question, because because we have the choice to choose classes that we want. I like all of my classes. So, but I guess my favorite is the one that I've mentioned previously, From Page to Screen, from Professor Lehtinen, because it was, I mean, like, we watched movies for a class. We watched Harry Potter and we read Harry Potter, and it was so cool. So that class, and what else? I guess because there are some classes that were hard and I didn't get such a good grade on, but I learned a lot. I guess that would be Intro to Literary Studies from Professor Nikopoulos. Also the class that I've mentioned, because again we had interesting assignments. Like, aside from just literary analysis, we did like a play, and I remember we were so nervous. We were like, I'm bad at acting, what do I do? And I remember there was this we did a very simple play. So we were like, there was me, this one guy, another girl, and we just did he played a boy, and we girls played the parents. So we were like, oh, and it was kind of simple. But I remember there was these other girls who were, I think they have like a lot of experience in acting, because they did I think it was like a death scene of somebody or something, and they were like crying and screaming, and we were like, oh my god, like, what's happening? And I remember that was so interesting for me, especially that was my first semester, first year, and like we never did such things at school, like for classes. Like at school, you're usually just given assignment, and here we're doing such creative things, and that was really interesting. And I think it would be then the French linguistics, because I took French from my first year. Like, I took until 202. And actually, one thing I think is important for you guys to know, I'm not sure if you know it already, but there is an opportunity to have a minor in languages, but from this year, I think WLLC majors cannot have a minor in languages. And that was really, really sad for me because I spent 3 years on this minor and they told me, no, you won't have it. I'm sorry. Because like I took the 4 classes and I took an advanced class and all I needed to do was take another advanced class, would have covered the minor requirement, but they were like, no, you can't. So yes, but I took this course and it was really interesting because it's from Professor Honkasalo, Sami Honkasalo. And what was interesting is that to really learn the structure of French, like from the inside, like learn its history, learn its phonology, learn the social implications of the language, because maybe you have studied, if you've taken like language and communication, for instance, you probably know that French is one of the most standardized languages in the world. So like there's special institutions which are like, no, we won't use this word because it's not French and we don't care what you think about it, don't use this word. So it's really interesting to study that. And unfortunately, yeah, this class was online, because I think offline it would have been really fun. Also, like the professor himself, he's so cool. I've used this word cool a lot, but he's like the true definition of cool, because he's a linguist, but he knows, I think, like 20 languages fluently, not just hello, how are you, but he actually can converse in it. And that was so interesting to know. And when he did presentations, he was like, yeah, this is in Chinese, this is in French, this is in Finnish, this is in Slovakian or something. And I was like, what? How doesn't it mix up? So I also went to his office hours and I was like, Professor, I don't have questions, I just wanted to ask you about like, and I just asked him like I asked him about grad school. Like I wanted to get some advice from grad school. Like also an advice, don't be afraid to ask professors about grad school, because it's their, like they went through that and they would be happy to talk about their experience. And I asked him about that. And he also talked about how he's traveled all over the world and how he learned languages that way. Like he lived in like Japan and France and like all of these places. So yes, I think, yeah, these were my 3 courses.
Thank you. And now, Jean, have you prepared your favorites?
Actually, I agree with Dameliya that every course that I take in my major is my like favorite, just because I chose to choose them. Yeah, despite the fact that they are requirements. Yeah, like basics and intermediate and advanced. Yeah, but I really liked all of them. And maybe if I go to top 3, one of them is creative writing for sure. Because I was actually very afraid of taking it in my second year, and I was like, I'm sorry, I need to take the,
Yeah,
Maybe
we're going to wait a little bit.
Yeah, I can tell about like creative writing because I didn't take that course, like, yeah, until Ajan comes. But I remember like in my second year, I was also really afraid to take it. I wanted to, but because I'm not that passionate about creative writing, like I used to be when I was young, but I was like, no, it's gonna be so cringy. Oh no, I can't take it. And also my friend told me that the professor was quite strict, and I was like, okay, no, I won't take it. But now I think so I didn't take it. Instead, I took public speaking. Maybe as an Ajan comes, I can also talk about public speaking. For me, it's also one of my favorite. Actually, no, not public speak. I took last semester, I took also argumentation and debate. It was the first time and unfortunately the only time this course was taught. It was after public speaking, but I really loved the course because, as you can probably notice, I like to talk. I talk a lot in my life, and it was a cool thing to like actually learn how to talk. Oh yeah, of course. Okay, then let me talk for 5 minutes. I can easily do that. So I took that course was really interesting because I really learned how to structure my words. Actually, let me talk about argumentation and debate because I think Dilaromi want to talk about public speaking, right?
I mean, I think that there is a need to mention public speaking because it is like a prerequisite for that 300 level course. Yeah, so maybe you can touch upon a little bit on public speaking. Yes, and then a more advanced one that, how was that, debate and
argumentation and debate.
argumentation.
It sounds quite scary, but it was actually the easiest course I took in my university life. Okay, sorry, Camila, I'll be very brief. So for public speaking, you learn how to present speeches, and it was really interesting because like ever since like school, and also I had some experience in uni with hosting events, and that really helped me to like structure my speech, because you have to kind of learn to like really make your point clear. And then with argumentation debate, it was like the prerequisite for it is public speaking, and it was taught by Professor Thomas Duke, and it was really interesting. Unfortunately, of course, it was online, but we really were like, I think you are dumb and you are wrong, because I think that it was really interesting to like fight in Zoom and be like, and try to make your point, because our professor told us that we could also use like psychological tricks, like saying that you are dumb we could do that. And he said you can, and he even said once, like, you can even like diss each other, but don't do it too much because that would be upsetting. But of course our class was really nice and we diss each other, we just dissed each other arguments. But it was really interesting. Although it was a 300 level course, it was really easy. All we did was we had a couple of debates and we had a few quizzes, and that was it. And the professor was so interesting and so nice. And again, like debating with each other is actually like really fun. And me, I didn't have experience in debating. Like I wasn't like in the no debate club, and I never did debating at school, so I was scared for that. But it was actually really interesting because in debate, especially the academic debate that we've learned, you have to learn how to make arguments on the spot, and not just like any random argument, but you actually have to follow the flow of the argument. For instance, like the person gave argument 1, 2, 3, and when you respond, even if you don't have time, like you don't really have time to think, but you can't just answer the second one, then answer the third one, and answer the first one. You have to also do it on point. And even if you don't have a good counter argument, we learned how to like make it seem like because like sometimes you can be like, oh, I don't agree with you, and your second point, I would like to say and like really refute that. So if you have the chance, take this course. It wasn't given this semester, I think, because last semester there was only like 5, 6 of us who took it. But he said that he will try to teach it again, because the professor Thomas Duke, he was a competitive debater. So if you see that course in the registrar, run and click as soon as possible, because it's really cool. And it's not that hard, as I said. There's no writing and not that much reading, just talking.
Okay, thank you, Dameliya, very, very much for your answer. Ayjan is back, so she can finish her top list.
Yeah, so I will be quick. So my top list is creative writing, yeah, because as I said, it was a bit of challenge for me, but I actually liked it because my professor was Mariya Deykute, and I should say that every professor who teaches creative writing is cool. Like we have Jonathan GP, but it's really hard for him. Mariya Deykute, as you can maybe, I think you already understood why she's cool. And we also have Theodora and Olga Nexina, and yeah, I've attended their workshops from Writing Center. They are also really cool. So yeah, I would suggest to take creative writing just because to try yourself in this field, because it just like you write your own stories during this course, like 2 stories, and they're almost ready to go to be published, and that's really cool. So that's why I recommend this course. Another course that I really admired was poetry writing seminar. We also have like it's one of the courses that specialize in creative writing, but unfortunately for now we don't have so much courses for this field. Like we only have creative writing introduction to fiction, we have poetry writing, and we also had new course this semester, advanced fiction writing with Jonathan GP, that I'm taking right now, and it's probably my third favorite course, even though I didn't finish it. So in poetry writing seminar, you are writing your own poems, and again, that's really cool because you just allow yourself to write, like, and you have a chance to be looked at your works. Again, you get some feedback, you get some advice from your professor who is specialized in these fields. So yeah, that's why I suggest these courses, because other courses that I took, they were like from different range. In my first year, I was really interested in linguistics with Professor Marie Dupuisson. I suggest you to take a course from her because she's really like a fan and a professional at the same time. I took a 300 level course because of her on my first year, and it was like again challenging, but I never like regretted that I did it, even though I'm now not interested in linguistics. And I also took some literature courses and language courses. Yeah, I took French and Chinese, and I'm so sad that I couldn't take any more languages because fourth year students do not have a priority for beginner courses, and that's why it's only 2 languages for me. So
yeah. Thank you very much for your answers. So Camila, if your question, yes, is still with you, if you didn't forget that I usually can forget, yes, so you can ask your question.
Thank you. Dameliya said that she took the French class until 202, I guess. So I'm taking a beginner's class this semester, and I actually wanted to ask opinion on whether do language courses offered by university actually worth it? Like, I know they are quite easy, but I am taking a Mandarin, and it's kind of a low pace now, and I was afraid that the course being a low paced, it might not help me to acquire language in a strong way. So I was hesitating whether should I took 102 next semester.
Yeah, your question is really valid. Thank you for asking. To be honest, you're kind of right. Yes, the courses in our university are a little bit slow paced. Especially, I learned that French is like, I remember Chinese, it wasn't as slow paced. Like it was kind of more intense, but French is quite slow paced. Like you learn the same thing for a long time. But I guess it just depends on what kind of a person you are. For instance, I'm not like you, like me learning language by myself is a failure. Like I don't have the patience for that, and if there's nothing really pushing me to learn it, I probably won't, or I will start but then finish and then start again and finish and start and finish. But for me, like learning languages in university was really important because I was motivated, of course, like by grades and by credits and everything, and that actually pushed me to learn the language to a certain point, and then to like study on my own. For instance, with French, I finished until 202, but I can say like the French 202, the name is intermediate French 2, but in reality you're not really intermediate at that point. You're like high beginning intermediate, to be honest. And if you want to like truly have a good proficiency, then you'll have to learn the language by yourself, like go to a language center, like we have like Alliance Français, so you can go there, or like or study by yourself. So yes, that's the thing. But you see that if you think that you're the person who can learn languages pretty well by yourself, and you think that it's more easier, it's less stressful, easier for you, and more productive, then maybe that could be a good way to go, and use those other credits for like electives or like literature and linguistics courses, or like other major courses. That could also be a possibility. But the thing is that, for instance, when you like apply to grad school, for instance, and they see that you have taken a lot of French courses, that's a good marker. For instance, if you like go into a program that specializes in a language, because even if you put like your language proficiency document, I think having the language courses might be a plus. But again, like I haven't applied to grad schools yet, and I am not a grad school admission officer, so I can't say for sure. Yeah, it depends on how you go about it. And to be honest, yes, French courses are a little bit unorganized, but the professor is really good. It's just online. It's really it's confusing. But to be honest, in offline, it wasn't that bad. It was manageable. But I remember I took 202 last spring when it was half on half offline, and I remember that was like, ugh, it was it was really hard. Have I taken Delph? Not yet. I am thinking about taking it, but yeah. I want to like take a course. I've taken like I think 2 courses from Alliance Française. I'm thinking to take 1 more and then maybe pass the Delph exam. Yeah. But I've not taken yet because I want to take either B, like I don't want to like take too many Delph exams because they're kind of expensive. I want to like reach a certain good language level like B2 and then take the Delph exam and then maybe do something with it. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for your answers, Ayjan.
I can add, to this question about, I agree with Dameliya because I also take French courses right now. I'm taking 1 or 2, and yes, they're really slow, but I suggest you anyway to take 101 in the language course that is that interests you, because the major reason is that the university allows you to take this course for free. Like and in the reality, language courses are pretty expensive, even the beginners one, and it's your chance to try this language. Like you can study it anyway, even in French with its slow pace, you get some insight into this language. You get culture insights, you get grammar insights, words. You just listen to this language and you have a chance to decide whether you want to continue to study this language. That's why it's and after you take 101, it's just your choice if you want to continue to progress in this language. Again, as Dameliya said, if you have a long list of language courses taken and you then go to grad school, it's a good indicator. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. That's all.
Okay, I think that was like an excellent, quite simple, yes, but at the same time really useful advice for students who are confused about taking languages. Yes, and thank you very much to every person right here. Thank you very much that you stayed here in the session until the end. And yes, they were really great questions and really great answers. Thank you to our speakers very much. I think that they were nice enough to offer you some additional communication. Yes, if you still have some questions, I think you can email them, right? And for today, our session is over. I want to thank our speakers for their time, yes, and for their great experience sharing. Yes, thank you for you participants as well. Hopefully the session was useful. Yes, and if you have any questions related to academic affairs, you can also text some peer advisors or go to academic advising office. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Okay,
Thank you.
goodbye.